right, what's going on, everybody? Coach Chris Dunn here with a post game from tonight's 31-28 loss at the hands of the Houston Voyagers, the home loss. I am joined by Killian Bain and Miles McCain from tonight's game. Killian Bain joins us live from the medical tent. We are still awaiting the results of his post game examination, where he will be evaluated to see what exactly we're looking at, what exactly we're up against in terms of the injury and whether or not he will miss any time. But again, 31-28 loss tonight at the hands of the Houston Voyagers. So figured I'd come on here and just kind of see what kind of questions everybody had. I guess before we get into any of that, I'll start with you, Bain. How are you feeling? Obviously awaiting results of your examination there, but how do you feel overall about tonight's game?
Overall, there's nothing to really be mad about. I mean, we played well. We fought ridiculously hard the whole entire time, even though we were down as much as many points as we were.
Right.
McCain kept us in it. Like us getting back into it wasn't necessarily because of the defense. It was because of the offense and how they were able to drive the ball down the field and not get any turnovers whatsoever. So all in all, I can't be mad. I mean, they were the better team on paper. They ended up being the better team on the field as well. And yeah, that's how I feel about it.
All right. And McCain, obviously another solid, if not spectacular performance. Obviously not getting the result in the end that you would like and that we would all like, but talk about your overall performance tonight and how it felt out there.
It felt good on the offense. We were finding, open passing lanes. Receivers did a good job getting open. Got to work on some concentration things. A couple drops out there that really could have helped. Buck, big credit to him. He went off today. He performed for us when we needed him to. He came through when the lights were the brightest. And, I'm proud of the way we fought. It's a disappointing loss because, you fight to come back when you're down by that many points and you're looking forward to maybe pulling off a great win. And it just didn't happen tonight, but I'm proud of the way we fought.
Yeah, I think one thing that you said that cannot be understated is the performance of Buck Ulbrich. Obviously, the way that you performed, especially getting down early, but also the performance of Buck Ulbrich. I know we were talking a little bit off air before we went on here, and I mentioned to you guys that I had tweaked a few things with Buck Ulbrich. I looked at his abilities and I changed his abilities a little bit. And then I tried to do some formation subs that would help based on those ability tweaks. And I would say by and large, it worked. That being said, it's still not enough. Buck Ulbrich had a great game and he played probably the best game of the season so far for him. However, almost came at the expense of Pavel Frederick, right? Because if you go back and watch the tape, Pavo didn't have the kind of impact that he's had throughout the season so far. So ideally, we got to figure out a way to get both of those guys rolling at the same time and for both of them to be able to have the impact that they're capable of having in the same game. And to make matters even more difficult, I would like to be able to do that without asking you, Miles, to throw the ball 51 times.
Yeah.
So, it's going to be difficult. This was a tough loss. I knew it would be a tough game. The Voyagers went to the Relo Bowl last year. This is the defending ARC champion. So by all accounts, this is the best team in the ARC, right? Like you can make that argument. And we had them on the ropes. Tied in the fourth quarter, less than 2 minutes to go. It just didn't work out. Again, we'll have to wait and see what the medical examiners say about the injury to Killian Bain. That'll be something that we definitely want to keep an eye on. But 314 yards passing, 2 touchdowns, and 0 interceptions. Fantastic job, Miles. And I think that's now it's definitely 2 weeks in a row with 0 interceptions.
Yeah.
I think with 2 touchdowns as well.
And 2 touchdowns. So you've thrown 4 touchdown passes and going back to 3 games, possibly even 5 touchdown passes without throwing an interception. So for you, I don't think, again, I said earlier, you can't understate the importance of Buck Ulbrich and understate how well he played. You also can't understate how well you played. And that's not just this game. And that's not even just last game. That's the entire season, right? Like, guys, I know you guys remember because you were on here with me 5 weeks ago when all anybody wanted to talk about was the Miners being the worst team in the league and they've got so many rookies and, oh my God, Miles McCain is going to struggle mightily. And, oh my God, Chum Lee is the greatest quarterback in the world and the Miners are stupid. Chum just made them look absolutely, like a junior varsity high school team out there. And that's all anybody wanted to talk about. And look, we're 500.
Yep.
If you told me if you told me 2 weeks before the season started that after 6 weeks, we were going to have 5 RFL games and we were going to be 500, I would have taken that.
Oh yeah. Especially with how many rookies are playing and second-year guys are playing, it's
right.
Definitely, we've exceeded my expectations. That's for sure.
Yeah, I mean, I would say this was expected to go through some growing pains, but I also feel like for McCain to be able to come into the league, have a hiccup early, and then now the last 2 games throw for almost 600 yards and 4 touchdowns with no interceptions is a significant feather in your cap, Miles, and a credit to you. So whatever it is that you're doing, keep up the good work. I love the rapport with Ulbrich that I'm seeing. But
yeah, me too. I would love to get Fry a little bit more active in it, but
yeah. And again, I mean, it all goes to scheming and playbook. And I mean, listen, the first couple games, the playbook wasn't working for anything. Now, at least it seems like the playbook is working. It's just, not working for everybody. At the end of the day, we can't have Ulbrich over 100 yards, Pavo over 100 yards, Fry getting 8 receptions, Damani Manuel over 100 yards. Hell, we can't even get Damani Manuel over 65 yards, but I digress. We can't ask for those things. What we can ask for is to get a win, right? And that's significantly more important than whatever stats might be accumulated. Because I will tell you, there are some teams out there, and I'm not gonna call out any teams, but there are some teams out there that I watch and look at their team and look at their roster and look at their players, and then I watch them play. And it's very easy for me to come to the conclusion that they're not playing in the playbook that's going to give them a chance to win games. They're playing in a playbook that's going to give them a chance to put up numbers. And numbers are great, but only if you get a win. And so, with that being said, I'll go out to the chat here. I know we've got some questions already that came in a little bit earlier.
Mm-hmm.
So if you are in the chat right now, feel free to throw those questions in. We got a couple questions that came through the press conferences channel on the Discord. So shout out to you guys. If you want to put your questions in there, feel free to do that. I do have that up and I'm monitoring that. That's actually a little bit easier for me to monitor. So, if you want to throw your questions in the press conference on Discord, and then they can get addressed a little bit easier here on the live stream. But I'll try to get to them in the comments here. Obviously, it's a little bit difficult when people are constantly commenting over you. So, first question we have here from Nate Allen, who's the official RFL insider. What are your thoughts about how your offense performed in tonight's game, especially in the second half? Thoughts on how the offense performed? Great. And especially in the second half, fantastic. Right? I mean, I guess I would say as a whole, I thought the offense played great.
Yep.
In the second half, I thought the offense played fantastic. So the level of fantastic that was played in the second half was brought down by the level of play from the first half, which was mediocre. And full tilt, we come to, I thought the offense played great. Anytime Miles goes out there and throws 2 touchdowns and doesn't throw an interception, I'd say that's pretty great. What about you?
Yeah, I mean, obviously we can expect more out of the running game, of course. Getting those 2 guys, Manuel and Torres, going is very key to our success, and has shown to be a key to our success.
Well,
But the fact that Miles went tit for tat with a superstar X Factor QB who, mind you, his X Factor was on practically the whole entire second half.
don't go there, Killian.
I'm not gonna say anything too astronomical, but McCain held his own.
Yeah.
And he showed his ability to be a very he showed his ability to be clutch in situations. Obviously, we're going to need to see more of that, as he develops. But the fact that he's showing it early on and giving us glimpses of what he can be early on in his career helped. And as we said before, the play of Buck Ulbrich, he just showed why it's so important to have that veteran presence, that veteran leadership, the veteran wide receiver that a young QB can turn to.
Right.
And yeah, the O line. As a matter of fact, the O line. I don't think the O line gave a single sack, if I'm not mistaken. I know Delahart was.
Yeah,
was quiet.
I don't believe so. Miles, do you remember? Getting
They got
sacked at all in
close.
that game?
They got close a couple times, but I don't think they actually recorded a sack.
Yeah, he threw it over whenever they would actually get close.
Yeah, I mean, look, I've said this offline and to several people, and I'll just say it now here. Sacks are down, right? For whatever reason, it is what it is. Sack totals are down this year. So quarterbacks that are able to carry their X factor throughout the entire fourth quarter, despite the fact that they go 3 and out and take losses for 15 yards, those guys are going to do well. And so Miles to go out there and not get sacked at all. And now I believe at this point, seven total sacks the entire season, right, Miles?
Yeah. Yeah.
So
7 total.
7 total sacks through 6 games for a rookie quarterback in the RFL is fantastic. And then on top of that, to have 11 touchdown passes and only 3 interceptions. I mean, I'm going to say it. We're a third of the way through the season, and there's nobody even close to entertaining Rookie of the Year. There's nobody that could even trip you up at this point. There's no one within striking distance. It's not even close. And I understand that quarterbacks typically get a little bit more love, but forget about the fact that it's a quarterback getting love. Just look at 11 touchdowns and 3 interceptions through 6 games. And again, knock on wood, we don't want that to change. But at the end of the year, if we're talking about 30 touchdowns and 11 interceptions, that's I mean, that's rookie of the year.
Yeah, and
Go ahead.
Fry made a great point, and as well 2 rookie offensive linemen to go along with a rookie quarterback.
Yeah, so I'm going to address that.
Oh yeah, well Red didn't play because
Yeah, so I that was my fear, and that's on me, and I'll own that. I didn't, for whatever reason, I knew that Norman Sinclair. So starting left guard Norman Sinclair was injured during training this week. He was going to miss the game. I didn't realize that being the only guy listed as a left guard because he was injured, we were not going to be able to start the game. The depth chart was fine. There was no issues with the depth chart. But then what happened was when Burns got put in, when I told Smitty to put Burns in, no injuries were sustained. So here's breaking news. No injuries were sustained, by the way. So good news there, Killian Bain. I saw you fist pumping, so I assumed that was there.
I am making my way out of the medical tent, and I will join y'all.
Yeah, there we go. Just get rid of the medical tent.
Yeah.
So I will take the L, and I will take the bell on the issue with the offensive line. I don't know how much of an impact it had, but what I do know is that it did completely screw up the depth chart. Nasir Red, who is our star rookie offensive lineman, was supposed to be our left guard, and on the depth chart, he is our left guard. And for whatever reason, when that switch had to be made, when Smitty had to make that switch, and I told him to put Burns in, because Burns wasn't a starter, and so I didn't want that to affect, and it turns out it did. At the end of the day, it's on me, and I'll own it. I should have known that once that guy got hurt, if he was the only guy at that position, that someone else needed to go in. Obviously, I can't move forward in the game to know that without having had it happen or having known that through previous gameplay on my own. So again, it is what it is. It kind of sucks. I don't think at the end of the day that it had any real impact. Miles never took a sack. The running game never really got going, but I don't know that that's necessarily because Nasir Red wasn't there. There's been struggles throughout the season at times with the running game, so I'm not going to throw that, and I'm not going to, throw that one on Nasir Red not being out there. I at the beginning of the game, I said put Burns at left guard, thinking it doesn't matter because the depth chart has Red at left guard, so Red's going to play left guard. But Burns ended up getting it put in anyway, and so Burns got the start. He wouldn't normally get the start, and so it is what it is. We just kind of have to move forward and learn from that in the future. Another question that I saw here in the chat was from Frankie, Coach Frankie of the Dreadnoughts. Obviously, that is our opponent next week.
Oh, yeah.
And Coach Frankie says, are you guys looking at any potential trades to have for the future to help out in the long term? So the easiest answer and the easiest way to answer that is yes, of course. I have said in Discord on certain channels, and I will say it again here. Right now, we have, I believe, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 picks in the first 4 rounds of next year's draft, and 3 picks in the first 2 rounds of next year's draft. So obviously, based on having that amount of draft capital, yes, I'm looking at moves for the future. That's why I have that influx of draft capital. However, I'm also looking at teams that might want an abundance of draft capital and what moves might be out there for me to get other players. One thing that we probably won't do, and the trade deadline is less than 2 weeks away now, or exactly 2 weeks away. One thing that I can almost assure you we will not be doing is making a move at the deadline to get older veterans for any position really. That's just not the move that we're going to make. For those of you that don't know, there are certain players on this roster that are on the depth chart, or are on the trade block. And I've been entertaining offers, and I've had conversations with probably about 5 different coaches right now for Jason DePape. And, it remains to be seen whether or not he gets moved. But he would only get moved for a young player. He's an 81 overall. He's got star dev, and he's 23 years old, I believe. So there's really no need or reason for me to trade him. I just also have another cornerback underneath him that I like as well. And so if I could get a player who's just as young, just as good, with the same dev trait at a different position, yeah, I'll entertain that. So yeah, I mean, I'm always looking at possible trades and what we can do to make the team better for the future. I think everybody can agree that what you saw from this team in week 1 and what you saw from this team in week 6 has been completely different. And that's the goal. That's what the goal is for this season. Miles, anything you want to add?
No.
All right. You're like, no.
Good job.
What do we got here? Well, I see Mitchie in the chat here. Hard fought game tonight from earlier. Yeah, I mean, it's tough. Obviously, you'd like to get the W. It didn't go our way. Here's Frankie in the chat. McCain playing better. Over under. Gonna need to be higher. Yeah. So shout out to anyone who took Miles McCain over in the over under bet. And not for nothing, I said this. I didn't say this to anyone in Discord, but I did say this in our locker room. Kind of jokingly, I looked at those lines and I said, if I were betting, I would be betting the under on Pavo Frederick's receptions, and I would be betting the over on Miles McCain's yards. And it turns out
ended up happening.
And it turns out they both hit. I mean, look, I love the fact that Pablo Frederick is getting 6.5 as the over under in terms of receptions, but to say that he's expected to get at minimum 6 to 7 catches, I mean, that's a lot, right? So for me, the Pablo Frederick under was kind of a no-brainer. And then Miles to go over, I forget what the over-under was. Miles, maybe you remember.
It was like 300.
No. It was not. It was not 3.
Oh no, it was like 200. I'm sorry, it was 200.
Yeah, it was. I mean, we can find it in here. There's so many channels in here.
I guess I'm still thinking about his stat line and how
you're good.
Yeah.
There's so many channels in here. Where, like, what channel is it even in?
It's in Place Your Bets, I believe.
Is that towards the bottom? Yeah, it is. Place Your Bets, probably. Oh, Weekly Game Wagers, I think. Yeah, Weekly Game Wagers is where it is. So the over-under on McCain's passing yards was 230.5. I would have taken the over. Nacho Cheese's receptions was 7.5. I definitely would have taken the under. As a matter of fact, Baker and I had a couple side bets. I've got to look at, and Smitty, if you're here, maybe you know this because you were just looking at all the stats, but Baker and I had side bets with each other just for fun. And so whatever team whatever team won the turnover battle was one of them. So there were 5 total side bets. One of them was whatever team won the turnover battle. So we won that one. So we got one there. The other one was whatever team won time of possession.
I think Voyagers got that one.
I would say, yeah, but I don't know because they had a lot of quick. Yeah, I'd say they probably got that one. So maybe we'll see. That's a wash there. So now we're even. Then one of the bets was number of pass deflections that Last Chance has versus the number of catches that Nacho Cheese has. And Nacho Cheese had 3 catches, and I think Last Chance had 1 pass deflection. So that would have gone Baker's way. Then the other one was, actually, no, I think it was rushing yards for Miles McCain.
Yep,
Yeah, it was
versus that's what it was. It was Miles McCain rushing yards versus Nacho Cheese receptions. And Nacho Cheese had 3 catches, and Miles, even though you could have scrambled that one play to get 5 or 6 yards, and you threw it out of bounds, which that's what happens when the throw ball away trade is on. Everyone has it in the RFL. It just kind of is what it is. Voyagers did have the longer time of possession, according to Smitty here. So, okay, so we got the turnover battle that went to us. The time of possession went to the Voyagers. Then Nacho Cheese receptions versus Miles McCain rushing yards. That went to the Voyagers. And then what's the other one? Eric Ashley pancake blocks versus Gregory Ashley sacks. Now, we know Gregory Ashley didn't get any sacks. Did Eric Ashley get any pancake blocks? Smitty, if you know that off the top of your head, or if you're still in the file, if Eric Ashley got a pancake block, then we got the point there, and we will be tied 2-2. And then the Voyagers will take it. The other one was last chance pass deflections versus Glenn Hay touchdown passes. Glenn Hay had 3 touchdown passes, and I think last chance had 1 pass deflection. So it looks like the Voyagers won those prop bets between Baker and I. So I owe Baker a piece of swag from the RFL shop. So congratulations, Coach Baker. Not only did you get the win tonight, but you also got yourself a Houston Voyagers coffee mug that I will have sent out shortly. Just don't be surprised if the Voyagers logo looks somewhat similar to a Miners logo. I don't know. I can't. I don't know. It's not my fault. It's not my fault. Redbubble screwed up. Yeah,
that's a manufacturer problem.
Yeah, you're gonna have to take that one up with Redbubble, I guess. What else? We'll get a couple more minutes here, and then we'll get out of here. So those were the 2. I think. Oh no, I saw another one come in.
There's a few that actually came in.
I saw. So if you guys can see some in the comments, let me know. I'm looking at the press conference channel here. I know I saw one pop up. No, I gotta get back
from CP.
All right. So where are we? Here we go. So I got Mitchie, thoughts on the progress of Miles and other user players so far this season. I can't be happier. I mean, I can't possibly be any happier than I am with the progress of Miles McCain at this point.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, you guys heard me, 5-10 minutes ago. I think he wins Rookie of the Year. And, I at this point, there would have to be something happen for me to not think that Miles is the front runner for Rookie of the Year. And sure, you can say, well, he's the only starting rookie quarterback, and it's always going to be a rookie quarterback. Well, then that's just simply ignorant and taking away from the fact that in 6 games he's got 11 touchdowns and 3 interceptions. He's averaging almost 2 touchdowns a game and a half an interception a game. Don't take that away from the man. Just don't. Because if you do, then you're not watching and you're not paying attention, or you're just being ignorant. So for me, I can't possibly be any happier than I am right now with Miles McCain. And as far as the other guys go, I would like to see the offensive line. The offensive line is developing. I just wish that it would translate into more production via the run game. And it's unfortunate that that's not happening. However, I'm okay with the run game taking a little bit of a hit at the fact, and if it's in correlation with the success that Miles is having right now. if Miles wasn't having this kind of success and we were not running the ball at all, then I would be concerned. But the rookie offensive linemen that were brought in, they are being groomed as pass protecting offensive linemen. Eric Ashley is going to be a tackle on this team for the foreseeable future. And Nasir Red is going to be a tackle on this team possibly by the end of the year, but most likely at the beginning of next year. So Nasir Red, who is a generic rookie, Eric Ashley, the user rookie, the focus for them is pass protection. And as of right now, I'm happy with it because, again, we've played 6 games and Miles has only been sacked 7 times, which means they're doing a good job getting protection. And also Miles is doing a good job of getting rid of the ball.
Thankfully.
But also, he's only thrown 3 interceptions, which means for as much pressure as he might be under, there's not so much pressure that he's making stupid, ridiculous decisions that are leading to automatic interceptions. So from that perspective on the offensive line, I'm good. From the linebacker position, I mean, again, sacks are down league wide. So would I like Killian Bain to have more than 1 sack this year? Yes, I would.
For sure.
But that being said, I would also like for Dominic Moore, our defensive tackle, to not be our leader when it comes to sacks. And right now he is. I know for a fact he's got 2.5. He might have 3 after this game tonight. And that would be the leader on our team. And so obviously I would like for Anton Burley, I would like for Killian Bain to have more there. But again, as the season goes on, I think we'll get there, especially with Bain. And then what else do we got for user players? Grant Culpepper. He hasn't had a ton of playing time.
He's made it count, though.
He's made it count when he was out there, right? The one week that he got thrust into the starting lineup because Derek Oliveros was injured, he had a pick 6. So as he develops, I'm going to look at ways to get him in there more. I may even entertain the idea of getting him more downs as the sub linebacker because I also feel like the middle of the field has been wide open. And I know every coach could probably say that. It's frustrating with how easy it is for quarterbacks to sometimes get completions over the middle. I just feel like for us this year, it's been extremely frustrating for me. And so whatever I can do, if that means I got to put a safety, in the box and put a safety at sub linebacker to try to, have a little bit better coverage on those routes over the middle, then that's what I'll do. Trying to think of who else. Who am I missing, guys? Oh, Jameson. All right. So Jameson, how can I forget? I mean, at this point, he's probably got, you could say that our game last week against the Pioneers had 2 of the most exciting plays so far this season, and they were back to back.
Yep.
Right? Like that catch by, was it Jenkins, right? And then to tie the game at 17, and then, or Perkins. Is it Jenkins or Perkins? I forget. And then Jameson takes it back for a touchdown on the very next play, and it turns out to be the game-winning play. So, I think from a rookie standpoint, certainly a user rookie standpoint, I don't really have any complaints. Other than the fact that, again, I'd like for Killian Bain to not get hurt in game.
Same here.
I'd like TJ Reynolds. I don't know why I was thinking Perkins. I don't want that to happen. Obviously, you don't want that to happen. None of our guys want that to happen. What else do we got here? I don't think I missed any user guys, did I?
Not that are active.
No.
Also,
all right. Go ahead.
Also, Frankie, when I was healthy, I was this close to getting hay at least once. This close. Okay, so when we're full force against
you, come on. I mean, woulda, coulda, shoulda, right? Don't come out here with your I almost got to the quarterback.
Okay, I got injured. Let me get something.
Yeah, well, hey, look, the best ability in the world is availability, right? And you didn't have it.
I didn't. You know what? You're
You didn't
right.
have it. You
No,
didn't
I'm
have it.
so sorry, Cranky, for
Maybe if you
coming
were on
at
the
you
field,
on
maybe
here.
if you were on the field, Glenn Hayes' superstar X factor wouldn't have mattered late in the fourth quarter, and we could have, held on and gone to overtime.
Yeah,
You
that's
ever
true. You
think of
know
that?
what? Let me be quiet. Let me
All
be
right.
quiet.
All right. You do that. You do that. Listen, man, just because you're on my team don't mean I ain't going to put you on blast.
Hey, I appreciate it. That's what I like about you.
All right, Frankie, I was worried for Bane earlier. I want to face the Miners at full strength. Be careful what you wish for. No, that'll be a big game. Listen, the Dreadnoughts were my pick to win the division at the beginning of the year, just because I knew what we were going to be going through. The Armadillos are still up there. Obviously, the Dreadnoughts got that big win over the Armadillos this week. If we can get the win next week over the Dreadnoughts, that will be huge, especially because I don't think we play them again till later in the season. And at that point, we will have more opportunity to develop. Some of our younger players will have, possibly improved and increased their overall, certainly increased some of their attributes in general. And that might put us in a better position as we get towards the end of the season. So, I saw another one in here. You guys see anything else?
No, I don't see anything.
CP had a question.
Oh, yeah. CP in the Discord, facing off against a QB like Glenn Hay. Is it hard to knock him off his game? What do you think your team could have done differently to pull out the W? Well, I'm just going to say, is it hard to knock him off his game? Yeah. And I think that was apparent by the fact that with a 15-point lead in the fourth quarter, he got his X factor, and then they went 3-and-out. He didn't lose it. He got sacked for a 15-yard loss. He didn't lose it. We scored 2 touchdowns. He didn't lose it. So yeah, I would say it's hard to knock Glenn Hay off of his game. I'd be honest. I'd be lying to you if I told you I wasn't screaming at the TV, wondering what we had to do to knock the X factor off of Glenn Hay in the fourth quarter. And shout out to Coach Baker, because I can only assume that one of the abilities that he has on Glenn Hay is persistence, because I'm pretty sure that you lose your X factor if you take a sack, and he took a sack almost for a safety, and he didn't lose the X factor. So I can only assume that Coach Baker has persistence on, and it paid off. It worked. And, was it the difference of the game? I don't know. You tell me. But 28-28 with a minute and a half to go and all the momentum in our favor, he just marched down the field. So credit to Coach Baker and his game planning and knowing his quarterback and knowing what he wants to do. You can't take anything away from it. It just goes to show you how important and how good it is to have the X factor. There were moments in the fourth quarter, and there were moments afterwards where I sat here and I said to myself, I really just wish that we played without any abilities at all. I wish we just played with just regular, no X factors, no superstars, no nothing. Or you could have it, but whatever, it didn't matter, right? Like, in the settings, you have the option of turning off abilities. And I had a moment where I was like, God, what do we have to do here? We get back in the game, and then he just marches down the field, and it's frustrating, and it is what it is. And you tip your cap to, the better team. What could we have done differently to pull out the W? I'd say we could have moved the ball in the first half. And more importantly, we could have moved the ball in the first quarter. And to piggyback off that, we could have done a better job on defense throughout the entire game when it comes to stopping the pass. So look, I mean, if we stop the pass in the first quarter or in the second quarter, Glenn Hay probably doesn't get into the zone and doesn't get his X factor. So, we allowed it to happen. He threw 3 touchdowns. If maybe he had only thrown 2 touchdowns, he might not have gotten into the X Factor. And unfortunately, we couldn't stop him throwing the ball. And that's been a problem for me and a frustration of mine throughout the entire year. Teams aren't going to run on us, right? They're not going to run on us. Smitty pointed it out during the game, and anybody who's watched this team knows it's very rare for running backs to hit the 100-yard mark. Nobody's done it this year. There hasn't been a single running back to rush for over 100 yards on us. And who knows? Maybe that'll change. Maybe that'll change next week. I don't think it'll happen next week because Frankie does a pretty good job of spreading the ball around when it comes to his running back. So I can't imagine that one running back gets over 100 yards. But I don't even think we've had, I think maybe the Red Dragons game, we gave up 100 total yards of rushing.
That was the only
because I think
time.
Scott had 94.
Yeah.
I think TJ Scott had 93 or 90, somewhere between 93 and 97, but he didn't get over 100. And nobody else, I think, has even gotten over 60. What did Smitty say? It's real life when you play. That's right. I don't know. Certain. Oh, I don't know. Frankie and Smitty are going back and forth on abilities or something.
What are your thoughts?
Savoy had, the Red Dragons had. So it looks like Frankie's saying the Red Dragons, DJ Scott had 91 and Savoy had 27. So as a team, they went over 100, which, you're not going to win very many games if you don't have 100 yards rushing as a team. That's just the way that it is. Here's a good point. This is a great point. And I love this. And I've complained about this for probably my entire life of watching and playing Madden, is that guys don't ever drop the ball, ever. And Back brings up a good point here. I like the realistic drops this season. We saw twice the Voyagers dropped wide open. Not, jump balls contested where they got 2 hands on it and they just couldn't come down with it. That, okay, fine. But these were wide open, nobody around, and literally it just doinked. I mean, it might as well have just gone off their forehead. Right? I believe twice we saw Voyagers guys not even put their hands up and they just let the ball go off their forehead. And I'm okay with it. I think that is, like Back said, that is realistic. That is added realism. And in an era where, everyone gets a little bit frustrated about certain things not being realistic, it's nice to see that. Now, obviously, Baker's probably furious, and Baker probably hates it. But at the end of the day, Baker still got the win, so I don't feel too bad for him. What else we got here? So, yes, great point Back on the drop passes. Now Back's correcting Frankie. Apparently the Red Dragons had 133. So here we go. So so total rushing yards against us this season. The Red Dragons had 133. The Pioneers had 80. The Bisons had 38. And the Armadillos had 66. Those are the total rushing yards allowed. Now, for as great as that is, Back, if you're still looking at those numbers right now, the passing yards allowed is terrible.
Yes, it is.
I believe, I could be wrong, but I believe every single quarterback that we have gone against this year has gone over 250 yards. And I think the only one that didn't go over 300 yards may have been Trey Allen. And quite honestly, because of the way that Reynolds performed, he may have actually gone over 300. I don't remember off the top of my head. So the passing game, the passing yards are over 400. Like if we had a quarterback that threw for under 300, then to balance it out, we also had a quarterback to throw for 400 against us. So, and again, I think we can also look at the fact that sack numbers are down as a league and understand why quarterbacks are throwing for as much as they are. Miles, when are you going to have your first 400-yard game?
Hopefully soon. Just got to keep progressing, keep upgrading, and hopefully it comes sooner. Tonight was my first 300-yard game, so that was cool.
That's it. Yeah, can we get hashtag 300 in the chat for Miles for the his first 300-yard passing game?
Woo-woo. And
we'll see.
So I believe
the
Voyage versus the Voyagers is on Saturday, right? It should be a Saturday game if I'm not mistaken.
What do you mean? This was the Voyagers.
That's
means Dreadnoughts.
Oh, I'm sorry. Dreadnoughts. Yeah, I'm sorry. The Dreadnoughts.
Oh, we don't know. I have no idea what
next Saturday.
I have no idea. How would you know that? Smitty hasn't posted the
because
schedule.
because they had the list of primetime games in a graph that they.
At the beginning of the year?
Someone posted earlier in the beginning of the year.
Oh, okay. All right. So yeah, I mean, maybe that makes sense. Well, then if that's the case, if that's the case, and we have a primetime game this week, I'm pretty sure that's our last primetime game. Because I believe we only had 6 primetime games this year, and so far this season. Oh wait, no, I'm sorry. One of them was an NFL win. And then one of them was a Saturday afternoon game. So we've had 4 primetime games so far. So if we have one more next week against the Dreadnoughts, then that means we only have one more primetime game from week 9 throughout the rest of the season. And again, that could change. Obviously, Smitty and the guys have the ability to look at the schedule and look at the standings and look at teams, and they can flex games into primetime if need be. But as of right now, that would mean that we have a primetime game this week against the Dreadnoughts, and then we have one more the entire rest of the way. And the Armadillos had 398 yards passing. The Bisons had 369 yards passing.
Okay, so I'm looking at it. Looks like a Monday game.
It might be Monday. Monday night games are cool. So here's the bummer. Here's a bummer about that. I'm gonna have to set my watch because I'm actually going to be in Europe. We leave for Scotland. We leave for London on Friday night, and we'll be gone all next week in London and Scotland. So if we have the Monday game, I mean, regardless of when the game is, so if we have a Monday night primetime game, then that means in order for me to watch it, I'm going to have to be awake on Tuesday morning at 1:00 in the morning, I think, if I'm not mistaken. 8:00 Eastern time is the equivalent of 1:00 in London. So I would need to set my alarm for 1:00. If anybody knows that off the top of your head, throw that in the chat for me. Yeah, I might be up at 1:00 in the morning on Tuesday, just so that I can watch the latest Dreadnoughts and Miners game. Smitty, make sure you grab some crumpets from McCall for when you visit London. I'm still wondering if I'll run into Flame out there. I mean, I know he loves London so much. Maybe he's out there, on an off day. Maybe he lives in London when he's not, back here playing in the States.
He did look for an apartment.
He did. He was so excited. I've never seen anyone so excited to see a mock draft of where he might get drafted. Yeah, that's right. That's right. Isaac Evans lives out there. I should reach out to Isaac Evans and be like, "What up, man?" I think he stayed. I don't even remember Scotland. Oh, so there's Mitchie. Scotland is 5 hours ahead.
It's
So
3 a.m.
yeah, so no, it's
Wait,
5 hours ahead. So like I said, 8 o'clock. 8 o'clock would be 1 o'clock in the morning. So I was right.
math was never my strong suit. I'm sorry. Should
Yeah.
have
Yeah. So we're taking RFL. Like if the NFL can have a game, it can have an actual game overseas, and I understand that we have teams in the RFL from London. But I'm literally going to be taking the RFL to London next week. So yes, I will be. I'll be in Scotland for most of the week. I'll be in London on Saturday and Sunday, and then the following Friday and Saturday, and then Scotland there in between. So should be a pretty cool trip. I've never been, so we'll see.
Earlier I saw a question asking about how you felt about Fry's season so far.
Ew. All right. Let's see.
Yep. Just further up a bit.
Give me a time. What's the timestamp on it?
I'm looking for it now.
Poor Fry.
10:19.
10:19. All right.
He's
There we
asking-
go. Oh yeah, here we go. What are your thoughts on Fry's play during the season so far? I mean, I don't really know how to answer this question because I feel like this question is being asked because you want me to say I think that he's played like crap. Like I feel like that's why you would ask this question, because you look at the number of catches that he has and you look at the yards and you just assume that he's not playing well. But that's not the case, right? Like he's done other things. He's also been open on a ton of plays where Miles just threw the ball to somebody else. And whether Miles made the right decision or not, some of them, I'll be honest, Miles, I think you didn't make the right decision. There's been plenty of times where I've been like, oh my God, throw to Fry, throw to Fry, throw to Fry. And then, you throw to Manuel on the sideline or something. We got to work on that. Hope you don't mind.
No, I've seen it too.
But yeah, I think Fry would tell you, sure, he'd like to have more catches.
I'd like to have every catch, every
I
throw.
think,
Yeah.
but again, last year, it's deserving for him to say that, because last year I think he had like 81, or I think he had over 80 catches, somewhere between like 81 and 87 catches, and he missed 5 games. I think he missed 5 games last year. 5 or 6 games last year he missed, and he still caught over 80 passes. Right now, I don't even think he's on pace to get 80 catches if he played every game. So that's nothing on him. If anything, that's on me. We're not using the same playbook. But part of the reason why we're not using the same playbook is because last year Fry put up numbers, but we were a lot of times getting in the red zone and kicking field goals. Whereas now I feel like we're doing a better job of getting in the red zone and getting touchdowns. And, so it is what it is. Like, I don't blame Fry for anything. He's been the biggest cheerleader for Miles McCain. There's been times where he's been, I might say something critical of Miles McCain to him, and he would be like, stop. Right? Like, Fry and I have had conversations, and I might say something like, God, I can't believe Miles made that throw. And Fry would immediately come to the defense. So, regardless of what his total number of receptions might be, and regardless of what his touchdown total might be, first and foremost, he is A1 in the locker room. And to me, that is way more important. If the biggest contribution that Anthony Fry has to this team is what he does in the locker room to help everyone else be better, I will take that. And I think if you asked him to a man, he would take that as well. So You can look at numbers all you want, but I'm not going to say that I'm disappointed in the fact that he doesn't have 5 touchdowns and 40 catches so far this season. Like that's not where I'm at. All right, last chance. We'll get a couple comments in here if you have them. A couple questions. We'll go to the hour mark. So we got about a little less than 5 minutes to go. I'll scroll back down here.
Is your European tour for business or for pleasure?
It is for pleasure. So many of you know that we got married 2021, sorry. We got married, and as part of my wedding gift from my wife, she wanted to take me to Scotland. So
Nice.
We postponed it for a little bit, but now we're heading over the pond.
Dang, don't do him like that, Smitty.
What did he say? Oh, I think he's talking to...
Yeah, he's talking to somebody else, but I thought the comment was funny.
Oh, Bax said you can't spell London without an L. However, I'm trying to figure out if that's him throwing shade to the London team or if that's him throwing shade to us because I'm going to London and we're going to get an L.
Or maybe it's because you're going to London.
No, wait. I'm going to London. London. Boy, I can't believe I got to end this in 3 minutes. London.
Oh my god.
Oh god, that's a done deal right there, Frankie. Just be careful. Don't get all your good stuff out of the way now.
Yeah, save it for next week.
Save it for next week. Let's see. What do we got here? What's this? It was because other people asked you about your other user players. It wasn't anything malicious. Yeah, he's talking about Fry and the question about Fry.
I take total offense to that.
Yeah. Fry's going to come over to your house and burn it down. And then not put out the fire.
Although that's his job.
Even though that's his job, he's going to get fired from his job just so that your house burns to the ground. What a terrible question. How dare you ask me about my production on the field? I think Back's a little late to the party here. He's like, wait, did Fry get hurt?
No, I got hurt.
No. Bane got hurt, but he's back. He came back. He's not going to miss any time. There was a question earlier back, if you missed it. There was a question. Somebody asked what my thoughts were on Fry's production or performance so far this season. And so we were just talking about Fry.
Yep.
All right. So we got about 2 minutes left. I think the winning team. What is this, Frankie? Now you're not even making any sense. I think the winning team plays the Sentinels this week.
What?
What is this? The playoffs in week 7? What are you talking about? This literally nothing in this sentence makes any sense whatsoever. Frankie, get off of the live stream right now. Go into the locker room and start planning for next week's game. Because if sentences like this are coming out of your mouth and being typed into your computer, you're going to have a hard time next week. You might like what you're getting out of Owen Jack so far this season, but yeah, that's all I'm going to say.
So basically any team that plays the Sentinels will win.
Well, why wouldn't you just say that? Right? Like, hold on. Let's do this, right? Like, okay. So here's what I meant to say, because any team who plays the Sentinels will win. That's a great statement. You know what? Round of applause. That's a great statement right there by Frankie. Basically, any team who plays the Sentinels will win. That's what you meant to say. Unfortunately, what happened was you said, I think the winning team plays the Sentinels this week. What does that mean? The winning team? unless Smitty has a 33rd team in the RFL and they're called the winning team, I don't know what that means. I don't. All right.
Oh,
I got a minute left. That's I guess I gotta get that out there. All right.
That's
Before we
great.
get out of here, Bane, any last thoughts on tonight, next week? Anything in the chat? Anyone in particular?
Yeah, I'd like to not get hurt next week. If that's okay with you, if that's okay with Smitty, if that's okay with Frankie.
I would be down. Smitty, feel free to turn injuries off for next week's game against the Dreadnoughts. I think that's the only thing, that's quite possibly the only thing that Frankie and I will agree upon this entire season is that Smitty should turn injuries off for next week's game so that Bane doesn't get hurt.
Yep.
Absolutely. And so that Fry doesn't tear another labrum.
Yes. We want to make sure we're at full strength. So, I mean,
yeah.
what better way to do?
All right. And then,
what about you, McCain? Any thoughts? Any?
Oh my God, guys, hold on, McCain. Before you say anything, somebody take the keyboard away from Frank. I'm not asking for much. I'm okay with the loss. I am accepting the fact that we lost tonight. All I ask is that somebody go over to Frankie's house, knock on the door. After his mom answers, you can say, "Hi, is Frankie home? Can Frankie come out and play? Can Frankie leave the computer because he clearly doesn't know how to type?"
No. Oh man. No, the other way, Smith. That's 100 to 0.
No, yeah, Smitty, that's the wrong way, kid. Come on. That's the wrong way. It's the wrong way, son. Oh boy. All right, McCain. Anything before we get out of here?
Just I'm happy with the direction we're heading. We got a lot of young players. We're progressing. We're getting better each week, and it's showing. And I'm just excited for the future for the team.
All right.
Oh yeah.
So can you? Here's what I ask. So we're gonna get out of here, and I'm gonna ask each of you guys one thing. Okay. That's it. Small ask. It's not nearly as bad as me asking you to throw your keyboard in the trash, which is what some people should do in the chat.
Or your phone, since he's on the road.
Or your phone, if he's on the road. So my ask of you, Bane, is that next week you do not get hurt. Fair?
That is completely fair. I'm up to the task.
Okay. And McCain, my ask of you, I feel is also fairly fair. And that is that the next time we do a live post game, you put your stupid camera on.
Jeez, McKinney, you have one job.
I mean, for crying out loud, you threw 2 touchdowns, didn't throw an interception. You had your first 300-yard performance, and you don't even turn the camera on. Show the ladies what they're missing.
Hey, I don't need a lady.
Hey, well, I mean,
I'm all good there, man.
You're lining up. They're lining up outside the locker room.
Yeah.
They heard 300 plus yards and were like, "Oh, we are there."
They're lining up outside the locker room, and Miles has got like a hood pulled over his head, and he's like ducked down, crouched over.
That's pretty much what's happening right now. I'm in a dark room, just laying here.
Miles walks out of the locker room like John Cena, right? Like, you can't see me.
Oh no!
All right. On that note, I'm pulling out the Frankie jokes. We got to get out of here. All right. So again, unfortunate outcome tonight: 31-28 loss at the hands of the Houston Voyagers. But shout out to all the guys, especially Bane here for being here for the post-game presser tonight, and as well as Miles McCain, first 300-yard game of his career. And once again, 2 touchdowns, 0 interceptions. That's now 2 games in a row with that exact stat line of 2 touchdowns and 0 interceptions. For my money, and for anyone else out there that's keeping track, probably the front runner for Rookie of the Year. So we'll take the loss with a grain of salt. We'll move on to the Dreadnoughts next week, and hopefully we can get back into the win column and get back over the 500 mark next week. So until then, until next time, head coach and general manager of the Sacramento Miners, Chris Dunn, wishing you all a very good evening. And I will talk to you guys at some point next week, possibly from London. Take care, everybody.